Just before we start, I wanted to make a statement of acknowledgement of traditional land. I wish to acknowledge this land on which we live, work, and stand. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron, Wendat, the Seneca, and most recently, the Mississaugas of the Credit River. Today, this meeting place is still the home of many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we're grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. So with that, let me hand over to Chuck.
Thanks, James. We do have an agenda today. Ultimately, we're going to follow the agenda, but I'm going to put a little bit of a presentation at the very beginning because I think it's important that we get an overall picture of what our neighborhood officers are doing. First of all, welcome to the CPLC meeting. Obviously, I see a lot of familiar faces. I want to welcome those that attended last month's CPLC meeting that was offsite at the Scarborough Village Community Center. We're doing that once a year, trying to reach out to the communities. We had some really positive dialogue at that meeting, and I just thought a visual presentation might help kind of explain some of our vision as far as the neighborhood officer program goes. So I know there were some concerns about the reduction in community engagement, which really is just reemployment of people, not so much a reduction in community engagement. So with that said, again, I thought visual is sometimes what people can relate to. So the first thing we're seeing up on the board here is Melissa and Mo are two of our neighborhood officers. She's been one of our neighborhood officers, Melissa has for 2 years now. Melissa and her partner are very active in a few different initiatives. Brave TO, I think a few of you know that. Melissa has participated in amazing wide service community campaign. She's also been part of a lot of building safety meetings and things of that nature. So she's out there and she does the community engagement things, although a little bit more limited than some of my officers as far as the social engagement. But I show you that she's doing the community engagement thing, and yet you can see some of the enforcement results up on the screen here. Melissa, in being in contact with a lot of members in her community, she's in the Wolver community, and Scarborough Village. In dealing with people on a daily basis, interacting with the public, she received information, and her and her team conducted an investigation into a vehicle stop. And what you see there is a sawed-off shotgun that was seized off of the Scarborough roads less than 2 weeks ago. In the back here, I introduced a few neighborhood officers at the last meeting. I'm going to introduce a couple of more. We have Sergeant Ducey. He's holding the box there. He's the long-haired sergeant there. And then 2 officers, we have Paul Tona and Mike Wecker. They're neighborhood officers that are currently working. The reason I wanted these officers to come down is, again, Paul and Mike participated in the community event this past Saturday, along with myself. We were down at Port Union Village and the waterfront, and there was a huge worldwide walk for poverty that took place along the waterfront. Upwards of 4,000 people attended. It was actually an effort at a Guinness Book of World Record where they were trying to have people around the world walk in support of the fight against poverty all at the same time. It was a huge turnout at the waterfront. And these officers, along with myself, were down there on the ATVs and getting the typical shots of the kids on the seats and engaging with the public, and were very well received. These same officers got into an investigation from information that was relayed to them in the Westfield community as late as last night. And I just wanted to recognize, but also show you again how the neighborhood officer program works. Do an engagement, meeting members of the community, and then they get information on some drug dealers and the potential for some firearms. These officers stayed late last night and came in early this morning to continue this investigation. Ended up doing a very successful and safe takedown of 5 people in the car. And what you see in the results on the back are 2 fully loaded, when they were recovered, 2 fully loaded handguns and some drugs that were seized out of that vehicle as of this morning. That's the success in the neighborhood officer program right there. Thank you very much, officer. And again, the reason I do that is just to highlight again, and sometimes it's a visual thing, that it's the overall big picture of what the neighborhood officer program is. They are in your community, they're engaging with not only the youth, the elderly, but also business owners, maintenance people that live and work in the buildings that we control, people in the parks. We've launched our Project Cops, which is keeping our parks safe. we've been very active this week in doing that and talking to people about the bonfires and things like that to present hazards in the park. But again, I thought it was important that you see the overall picture of what our neighborhood officer program is about. Okay, so with that said, we'll get back to our agenda because that was an active investigation and they're continuing to do it as we speak. But I wanted to introduce. Back over to you, James.
Thanks, Scott. So, just kicking off then with our agenda for today. First, we hand over to Adam LeBlanc, our crime analyst, our crime statistic.
Thank you. All right. Thank you for coming. Good afternoon. Most of you being forward, and I'm going to give you a little presentation on what's been happening statistics-wise in the division. All right, like usual, we're going to start off. This is the Mountain 42 division, and it's broken down by representation of our CPLC here. As you can see, a pretty good CPLC, a lot of members. And as Matt mentioned, if you're at last month's meeting and most months, we're always looking to grow our CPLC. So if you do live in any of these communities and you'd like to join us, we'd be more than happy to have you.
And just on that point, for anyone who's joining us for the first time, if we have pamphlets here at CPLC, talk to any one of the members here that have name tags in front of them. If you'd like to become a member, just reach out to us. We're happy to walk you through the process, but as Adam mentioned, we'd love you.
Okay, moving along. This slide here, this is another map for the division. We showed it for the first time last month, but I decided I'm going to leave it up there for a couple months just so people get more and more familiar with this. This is the way forward for the Toronto Police Service. We're breaking up our city into the neighborhoods. These neighborhoods weren't chosen by the police. These neighborhoods designated by the city. Throughout the city of Toronto, these are the ones that they got here in 43. And like Staff Sergeant Kaufman was saying, we have neighborhood officers assigned to the 5 neighborhoods that are most priority for us. And the names are up there, and it shows you where the neighborhoods are in our division.
Just sometimes the obvious questions aren't asked, so I'll ask Todd to respond to this question. We have 4 officers assigned to 5 neighborhoods. Can you just tell us why?
Absolutely. First of all, the detailing of the officers to those neighborhoods is based on intelligence-led policing and statistical data. The analysis is the 5 that we've selected, the 5 communities. Similar to what Adam is going to present as far as the 7 major crime indicators, the analysis of calls for service, the amount of times that 911 calls are placed. These 5 neighborhoods were determined to be the higher priority neighborhoods for deployment. Now, the reason that you have 4 officers to each of the 5 neighborhoods is we work on an 8 days on, 6 days off schedule. So there's always 2 teams that are looking after those neighborhoods. So when you see 4 officers, 2 of those officers will currently be working similar to the officers that were in the back of the room. Their last day, the next team comes on and they'll look after the next 8 days. So there's always an officer assigned to that neighborhood 7 days a week. So you have 4 officers per neighborhood, but on any given day, 10 would be deployed out on the road for the 5 neighborhoods. I should add too that currently used to be EPS, now it's Community Policing Engagement Unit. They're developing or working on a website where you'll be able to go on to 43 Division webpage, and that information with community officers will actually be accessible to you on the webpage. So you'll go on to say Morningside's web or Morningside's link. When you click on it, you'll see the 4 officers. Their information, their email page or email address will be available for you. That's still currently being fine-tuned, but they expect to roll that out fairly soon. So again, those are the neighborhoods that were determined to be a higher priority, and they have the officers assigned to them.
Okay, so moving on to our first map, we always start off with a collision map. And this map here shows the collision activity for the month of April in 42 division. You see is each color dot signifies a certain type of accident, and then we have a hue relay on it to kind of help you see where what we call the hotspots are. We use a map like this once a week at our crime management meeting. The supervisors look at it. They use this map to drive where they're going to conduct enforcement in the coming weeks. This is a pretty traditional looking map when you come up here. Most of our problems are at intersections. One thing that's good to see though, look down along the end of there, you can see how it's kind of lightened up there, so our collisions have been down a bit.
So we're about to head into Canada Road Safety Week. So that starts officially Tuesday in this division. It starts today. So we will be concentrating on, in particular, Kingston Road, because that's where we've seen the most collisions in the last week. So that's where the focus will be. However, the focus by way of offenses that we're looking for is anything that would fall under distracted driving. So that could be your cell phone, it could be doing something else in your car that you're actually distracted from the driving. Also, it would include things like impaired driving, and that could be impaired by alcohol, could be impaired by drug, or could be impaired by fatigue. This is a busy city. People work hard in this city. That said, if you're fatigued, you shouldn't be driving. So we'll be looking for those sorts of things as well, because they lead to significant serious injuries and sadly death on our roads. So that's starting officially across the city on the 15th. Today it starts here.
This next map also traffic related. What you're looking at now is the same overlay you just looked at, which represents collisions, but now instead of the dots representing types of collisions, these crosses represent where our enforcement is taking place. And as you can see, in the large part, most of the large clusters of enforcement take place in the same spot where you see the hospitals. We'll move on to some of our crime maps. First, we'll start off with break enters. All of our crime maps are looking really good lately. The government monthly, you know that in the first part of 2018, our break enters were surging up quite a bit than we used to. We did a project in late March, early April, and we were trying to break enters down. Our break enters this month are low in April. Our actual average is coming down pretty close to what we were seeing last year. Our residential entries currently are extremely low for what we've been seeing. Past 2 months we've had extremely low residential entries, so we're pretty happy with that. The only really problem area here is a cluster where you see purple and green dots, and I'm pretty sure all of those were commercial and apartment entries. We have seen a slight increase in our apartment entries, so if anybody who lives in apartments, or you know the people in apartments, we always want to remind about like strangers into, make sure people are pleasant and can guests that they actually want. You're not just trying to sneak in behind you through the doors there.
And again, sometimes we forget the obvious, but if you leave your apartment, it's surprising how many people don't lock the doors. It's a great city, it's a safe city. Don't lock your doors. Take those extra few seconds to protect what you've worked hard for. Lock your door.
And next up is robberies, and this map, again, even less thought than the last map, our robberies. We've had significant robbery reduction all year long this year, which we're pretty proud of too. We had significant robbery reduction 2 years ago, and we're even below that right now. So you've seen very few robberies out there, and actually our street robberies, which regularly every year to year run about 50% of our robberies, are down to only 40% of our robberies right now, which is very good, because the street robbery is kind of what we classify as our random act of violence robbery, like that first snatch, chain rip, someone stealing your cell phone, kind of street, not stranger. So those are the ones that we try to enforce most, and we want to do that this year so far.
I know Paul and Julie have been doing this, but one of the things that we will start to see, sadly, as we move into the warmer weather, as we take off those layers of clothing that we generally live in throughout the winter because of the weather, jewelry is exposed. That creates a target for some people who are looking to steal again what you've worked hard to purchase over the years. So be aware of your surroundings. Those communities that use jewelry as a engagement ring, in some cultures we wear rings, in some cultures they were very expensive necklaces. Those are things that, those necklaces are very easy as somebody's walking or running by or on a bicycle going by, grabbing and going with. So just be careful of your surroundings. If you don't have to wear that, don't.
And what we're trying to map, this is theft of dollars in the division. They had a pretty sparse map, which is what we like to see. There's actually only 8 left of office right now. That's extremely low. The only real thing I have to say about this, I know I've probably heard about this every month this year. I don't know if I'm causing that luck with the ID vehicles. That up there, some of the car ID only went into the convenience store. Some passersby felt like something they're driving off. So if you do want to leave your car ID, you're taking your chances. We have seen increases in that type of auto theft this year so far.
Again, it's one of those side effects probably of living in a very safe city. People feel confident to do that, but it's taking that extra second just to turn off your car, take the keys with you, lock the door, go in, do whatever the business you need to do, and then your car will be there when you come back. Don't leave it idle.
And our 7 major crime indicators. So for those of you who come all the time, these are indicators. These are set by Statistics Canada, by the Police Force across Canada measures these. These are indicators that came up that show a crime picture across the community or a region. That's why we measure these particular ones. And if you look at ours, you can see we're having a pretty good year so far. Pretty much everything is down. Robberies down 27%. We're actually below 2016 levels right now, which is phenomenal. Break-in enters, they are up, but if you were here 2 months ago, they were up 40%. We managed to squeeze that down to 15%, and almost on par with 2016. And then in total, we are down 6%. We are one of the only divisions in the city right now that are trending down, so I'm pretty happy with that. And then lastly, I usually have like a little tip. I put this flyer up here this time instead because this starts on Monday. It's National Police Week. It just says Police Week. It is National Police Week, so it's across North America starting next week. For those of you who like to go downtown at all, there will be a kickoff at headquarters at 10 a.m. People are more been invited to attend. And the theme this year is celebrating police and community partnerships, which pretty much goes hand in hand with what CPLC is. So I'll put that up there. That's it for you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you, Adam. And then with that, we have Julian Hall to talk through the safety.
Hello, everybody. I have to notice a friendly face in the crowd. Lindsay Hunter, our Minister of Advanced Education Skills Development. I don't know if you would like to say a couple of words. So thank you for this opportunity, Mr. Campbell and Rowe, and I just, I feel a little nostalgic coming in here today. I didn't expect to feel this way, but I do. And there are many reasons for that, but I want to just take a 1 minute, if I may, I want to let you know that you've had an impact on this community, that this table that you convene with community members and the open way that we can talk about the safety of our community has made a difference. I have a little story I want to tell you about how it has. So I don't know if you remember this, Superintendent Fenton, you might remember it, but there was a conversation that we were having. The configuration was a little different than this. It was a rectangle. And there was a woman who was talking about her father living in a building. And there were all these people that were just, making a disturbance, and you should come and take them away. And, as we were listening, really, the people in the building were experiencing addictions and mental health issues. And there was some gentle conversation that said, even though they're causing disturbance, we probably shouldn't have the police come and take them away. That wouldn't be the solution. And I remember sitting there and listening to this conversation and saying, and I said that at the time, I said that's the responsibility of the health system. And that's the responsibility of our LIN to help those people, not yours. Even though you're there every time they call. That conversation really stuck with me. And every time I have a chance, I raise it. I raised it at cabinet. I raised it with the LIN and the hospitals. And I continue to raise that conversation. And what happened was the LIN got together with Toronto Community Housing and a mental health provider and put on-site mental health supports, addictions, behavioral, all of the wraparound supports inside a building in Scarborough. It was 140 Abmac. And they said to me, if this works, we will bring this across the buildings that we know need it in the community. Not only did it work, it worked so well in reducing many things, addictions, all kinds of indicators. They won an award for the pilot program. And now the LIN is funding similar supports in many buildings across Scarborough. I was in a Tuxedo Court building and the services were coming in. I was at 4175, services are coming in. In fact, it was a new provider and I dropped in at the office and she had her hand on her head and she was overwhelmed. And I said, why are you overwhelmed? She says, well, the needs are so great in this building. I said, oh yeah, we know that, but just scale up, right? So I just want you to know that the discussions here made a difference. So I want to just thank you for convening this forum for the community to focus on safety. I've taken notes today again. So I didn't realize that there was a Canada Safety Week on road safety. And I know there's a fire safety week. I include that in my calendar. And should I have an opportunity to publish another calendar, I'll make sure that we include that as well. I also noticed that the Woburn area is there. And we've been doing a lot of work in my office with that community. We do leadership training for young people and working with the schools in that area. We know that there are challenges because the community leaders have approached us, my office, on that, and that's why we're bringing in our services and our programming on a preventative basis. So I just want you to know I've taken notes today, and we'll continue to work together to make our communities safer. The last thing I want to say is that, you know, I am so grateful for the Toronto Police Services and all of our first responders, EMS, fire, ambulance, and how everyone responded to the situation that occurred at Yonge and Finch. And, you know, when something happens in our city, and I've experienced this multiple times in various roles, you are the ones that go out front and protect us all and make us feel safe. So I want to use this as an opportunity to say thank you. Very proud. It's very Canadian. It's very Toronto, the way that things happen. And our city continues to carry on and be a safe community because we serve. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Not coming to the speaker.
Don't be like that, Marilyn. We'll give you a hard time. Can you hear me in the back? Is that picking up? Oh, so.
I'll usually give me the big microphone anyway.
Thanks, Nancy. Great to see you another time. Just to speak a little bit about the Lowly credit card and debit card. Maybe it's fine. We did try to use it as a wallet, but we did that before. And in our talks, we have often talked about the magnetic strip on the back. As not many are aware, that's very, very easy to skim to get that information if you're not careful. What we recommended for the last couple of years was using check. And the reason being is the magnetic strip, you can imagine a piece of text or a page of a book. That first letter represents the coding or magnetic strip. And
think we're getting feedback. Now I'm controlling my own stuff. So that's one letter, that's what that coding would represent. The chip would represent the entire page. So it was much, much more complex to compromise. According to the Bank of Canada, until recently, that had never been compromised. Unfortunately, it now has been. And we're going to talk a little bit about prevention, but Julie is going to start with a brief video here so you can see it in action.
I can start a little bit more on that awareness initiative. Yeah, I guess, Sean, the place people really worry about this is maybe gas stations.
Certainly can, because it's pretty easy to get in your car, you pay at the pump, it's quick, and you're back in your car and you're gone. And you'd be surprised just how sophisticated some of the devices are that can read your card. But Crime Stoppers and Petro-Canada and ESSO are trying to do a simple measure that people can look for to prevent against fraud. When paying at the pump, keep an eye out for this sticker. It protects customers' sensitive information.
This basically is an initiative to prevent fraud from happening at our gas pumps.
Sean Borton is manager of security at Circle K ESSO stores in Petro-Canada and vice chair of Crime Stoppers. They've applied these stickers to keypads and card readers to assure customers that the pay area is safe.
And if we don't see them, customers should be wiggling and tugging on the pay point areas to see if there's going to be a stimmer like this.
Items like these are used by criminals to be applied to a card scanner and a keypad to download information and steal your PIN. Just to give you an idea of how quickly criminals can work in these situations, these two items can be applied in just a matter of seconds, and then they can just walk away.
In fact, some people even think would, though, I've been looking at it as well. Some of them are quite convincing.
Detective Sergeant Ian Nichols from the Toronto Police Financial Crimes Unit says that banks are getting better at prevention, but items like these stickers are a good start for the point of sale because this is common.
It's safe to say that we're made aware of several incidents per day, whether it's at banks or whether it's at premise sites or at locations and retail locations, that this type of thing. It's a rarely event.
In 2016, $11.4 million was stolen by skimming in Canada, and worldwide, it's a $1 billion industry. Sean Leathon, CTV News.
So it's a kind of nose game of developing. There'll be another piece of technology that's going to come ahead and do that. But we'll talk about a little bit of prevention, and then Julie is going to freak you out, and you'll never take your wallet in your head. So, what we're recommending right now are a couple of pieces. Tap and go, if possible. And the other piece, and it would be common sense, but just try to use it. You're in the standalone places. Try to use cash in that case if possible. I know it's not very popular to use, but flea markets and all those sorts of things, those standalone bank machines are much more susceptible to frontline bank. They don't have the testing. One can imagine someone making minimum wage or less, and someone comes along and says, "I'd like to put this little piece on your bank machine. We'll give you $1,000." Whatever it might be. Very, very tempting. So tap and go when possible, and use frontline banks.
Just a quick story, people will call there in the community giving presentations often will ask us about, like the old tinfoil on the inside of your wallet type idea. Like, is it true they can scan your bank card information when you're walking by and such? So we were driving to headquarters one day and we heard Sean Corman from Corey's Colliers on one of the talk radio shows talking about this new wallet they have in the store down on the Danforth that protects your card information. So then, we'll stop in and check it out. So we then spoke with Mr. Corman. He said, yeah, the company that sells these fancy wallets came and did a demonstration. So they had his father, Saul, walk across the Danforth. And there's people everywhere, there's cars everywhere. And he said, now, I'll tell you what's in your dad's wallet. And Sean said, well, what are you talking about? So he held up a little device, and they were able to watch it on the screen from inside the store, all the credit cards that the other Mr. Corman had on the other side of Danforth, and all the credit card numbers. So, this is obviously an issue. So from that day forward, they started selling these wallets. So that is something, obviously not from Corey's Colliers, but everywhere, even they have them at Costco and all sorts of stores where there is added protection. So if you're walking by areas with your wallet, your information is safe. So just something to think about.
But you might mention here around Presto as well. That's just one place we can see fraud.
Oh, yeah, one of the fraud investigators did tell me about a story of the Presto machine. I'm sure you'll see it, people like have their bags or whatever, when they go by the Presto thing, they will just scan their whole bag as they walk by, because it reads the card. Well, they did have an incident in Toronto where somebody had installed one of the devices that reads other cards and just below the Presto reader. So you can walk by it a million times and never notice it. So when you're scanning your bag, your Presto is being debited for your fare, but also all your cards were being copied when you walked by. So again, just something to be aware of. And even if you are going to change your wallet, even at the dollar store, there are little, like a sleeve with, for lack of a better term, tinfoil on the inside, so then somebody can't read it from a distance.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Paul. I think it's concerning information, but I think it was well done, especially how you kind of articulated that, just happened to be by the clothing store and you weren't shopping on duty. The superintendent's sitting right here, and we'll be speaking after the meeting.
I think we both know Paul's too cheap a job at Corey, so let's, yeah.
He didn't say Walmart's good.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for attending. I'm actually just going to be really quick. I have a presentation. And before I start that presentation, I'm just going to call a gentleman to the front here who maybe you may recognize in the Scarborough area. He is, his name is Kevin Fujita. He works at Native Child and Family Services in the Scarborough location. And I believe he's worked at the Scarborough location since they've opened up. But he's been with Native Child for about 18, 19 years now. And I first met Kevin, actually before I became a police officer. I went to volunteer with my dad in the Aboriginal Peacekeeping Unit and worked with Native Child. And I met him there, and lo and behold, we both ended up in Scarborough. He's a very, very, if we're strong in the community, like my staff sergeant said, if we're strong, it's because of our partnerships with community members, and we have the right officers out there in positions like the neighborhood officer program. So Kevin, I have to say, if I had longer to present, I would have brought a guitar up here. He's one of the finest guitar players in Toronto. I'm actually not making that up. He's one of the finest guitar players in Toronto, all genres of music, and he's a master chef as well. Cooks for hundreds of youth on a weekly basis, and we just wanted to bring you up here just show you our appreciation. Kevin's been helping me with the music competition program for about 6 years now, and we've won. We've come in first place at these competitions, and it's not because of me, it's because of Kevin. So, Superintendent, if you'd like to come up for a minute.
Didn't know you were a chef. I do like Latin King.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kevin. Okay, this is the point in the meeting before we take our break, where we open it up to the floor for any community concerns or questions, any comments that you feel you want to make. We do have a microphone available. Don't be shy. This is the opportunity. Again, just as Randy and Paul and Julia said, we count on you to be our eyes and ears out there in the neighborhoods. So if you have any concerns or anything, feel free to bring them forward. Going once.
I don't have a concern, but I have a question now. Is the neighborhood watch, is it still existing or is it discontinued?
The neighborhood watch program, as it used to be, is no longer in existence. The neighborhood officer program is, I won't say it's taken over it, but that's our initiative in moving forward is the neighborhood officers, designated officers being assigned to specific neighborhoods. I hope that.
I think just one moment, just to read that. Had great success with closed Facebook pages. And James, I don't know if you're on Cliff Preston one or that area. You probably are. I wasn't on you, so it works out perfectly. Question, if you didn't hear on the far side, was just about the neighborhood watch program. And they've had great success with the closed Facebook pages. And that is just a Facebook page for community, but you can't get on that without being invited in. But the press community does it very well, and I'm sure others do as well. Sharing information, just there has to be care given that the information, of course, is rooted in fact, because sometimes people get carried away, but that's what we can have communication as well. We do have access to that page and we'll have things at times.
Thank you, Paul.
You're very welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to take this time to thank Fourth Street Division for their communities. We just recently had a meeting a few weeks ago with the Mayor Task Force. Attended first. Fourth Street Division were also sitting at that table, and there are some great things happening in our community. And you know, they're always saying that it's the residents that does the work, but we can say it's not the residents alone, because without the contribution of the police force, we're not able to do what we need to do. We can look at Mornell Court right now. They're talking and they're saying, why is Mornell different from the rest of the community? They talk about different communities. And all people standing and really going forth and looking at their community and wanting to make that change. And we know that partnership, one person alone cannot do it. It's a partnership, it's working together. So I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you very much for being a part of our communities and looking at our communities not just as a caseload, but seeing the people and seeing the residents and also making a difference that we are able to live safely and move on with our lives. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Okay, are there any other comments, concerns, questions people want to raise? Don't be shy. Okay, well, at this point, then, take our break. The second half is specifically for CPLC members. We're working towards our open house. I don't know if you want to maybe chat about that real quick.
Just a real quick announcement. So I know most of you coming in to the division, you're seeing the sign outside. June 2nd is our 13th annual picnic and open house. The event will run on Saturday, June 2nd, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Please attend it. Please invite your family members to join. Usually we tend to have 3,000 plus people here. The entire face of the division is completely different. Meet all the officers, hopefully everyone that's there can lose and actually just interact with them on a more personal basis. There'll be a barbecue, there'll be a ton of activities for children. So please, again, invite everyone to attend and spread the message to the streets and 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. So with that, thank you everyone for joining, and we'll see you next month on June 14th. Take care.